This is another video I am releasing in a series on how to make currency at League Start. Bestiary is not my favorite League Start currency farming strategy, but I think I'm going to spend some time doing it in the upcoming league because I know it can be extremely profitable, and I think I have greatly overestimated the downsides of it as a currency farming strategy. Now, just for a disclaimer, this is not a comprehensive guide on how to do beast farming. It's not the only approach you can take either. This is just what I think is important for a player doing this strategy at League Start to know in order to make a lot of currency quickly and relatively easily. Hi, it's Lerald, and I'm going to talk about how to farm beasts with everybody's best friend, Einhar. But before I do, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let's just talk about this strategy. What makes it special? It's a very, very efficient strategy that costs very little to get rolling, and it can generate substantial profits if you farm large quantities of valuable beasts. It's not a very hard strategy either. You do this in T1 to T4 maps, and kind of like with the Essence strategy, there is no real interaction with quantity and rarity on the beasts, on the value of them. So you do them in white maps. In terms of what it creates, it makes basically two different valuable beasts that are used in crafting, and they're especially valuable. One is valuable really early on in the league, and then the other one is more valuable as the league progresses. Now, in terms of whether this is a fun strategy, I think the answer to that is both yes and no. I think the inventory management and the sales aspects of this strategy are a little lame, and they're kind of what has kept me from really committing to doing this a lot in the past. But the mapping aspects of this strategy are actually pretty fun. I like Einhar as well. I think he's a pretty fun, loud character, and the basic gameplay loop of this strategy is really simple. You run into maps, you find Einhar and kill beasts with them, he captures them, and then you sell those beasts to other players, profit. What you do in terms of gameplay specifics is complete Einhar missions in maps that are in the T1 to T4 range. He helps you capture the beasts. He will deal some damage, like an actual decent amount of damage, depending on your Atlas passive setup. But that's not really all that important because the mobs are frankly not all that dangerous. You can defeat beasts in the Menagerie to create currency and unique items, so just basically random crap. You can also use them to do special types of crafts, and that is really where the value from this league mechanic is concentrated. And so I'm going to go to my Menagerie and pull up those recipes and show them off now. All right, so Finnable Plagued Arachnid is the beast that is a lot more valuable early on in the league. It splits an item in two with half the mods going onto each item. You can only do this once with an item. Like once an item is split, it will then bear the split tag on both of the two halves, and that means an item can't be split again. The point of doing this early on in a league is if you get a nice valuable base that has like a 6-link thicket bow, something like that, something that's kind of hard to attain very early on in the league, you can make two of them and sell one of them off, or craft both of them and sell them off, or craft both of them and use them depending on what the base is. So being able to do that, Finnable Plagued Arachnids are not the only mechanism for doing that, but they're one of the, they're basically the better version of doing it, because the other way is through fossils, and that's a whole other thing to deal with, so not as great. The other valuable beast, and the one that is more valuable, especially later on as people start crafting like real high level gear, is Krakic Chimeral. It creates an imprint of a magic item, and the imprint of the magic item can be like clicked and like right clicked. It's basically an orb, an eternal orb. You can click it and then click the item, and it will restore that item to exactly how it was when you imprinted it. This is extremely valuable. It's basically a reset button for high level crafting. So it's, extremely valuable for high level crafting. And having some of those on hand can be really good if you're planning to do any high level crafts yourself. But even if you're not, they're certainly good to sell to rich people. In terms of the complexity of this strategy, farming beasts is super simple. You just kill dudes. Selling them is a bit more complex, and actually I'm going to go right back to the bestiary to show this off because it still just follows the same basic rules of bulk selling items. So sometimes your inventory will bug out a bit and you have to actually talk to your stash when you're in this area, but you buy bestiary orbs from good old Einhar here, and you can buy them 20 at a time. 10 at a time, rather. That's the extent of their stacks. So you just open up your bestiary, and let's say you wanted to capture a beast like Ferric Lynx Alpha, not particularly valuable. I can't think of what they're worth off the top of the dome. Let's say I want to put this feral first to the plains into an orb and sell it to somebody. I right click on the Bestiary orb, then I right click on Feral, boom, now he's in my inventory as a Bestiary orb. But obviously, right, you're not going to want to sell things that are going for like 2-3 chaos. The point of this strategy really is to farm up those valuable items that are worth like dozens or hundreds of chaos, and then put those guys into Bestiary orbs, throw them in whatever stash tab you want, and sell them all off, just like any other currency, fracturing orbs, anything like that. Now, once you've bought an item, once you've bought one of these beasts, you can take it to your Bestiary, right-click it, and boom, now he's been added to the Bestiary. Simple as pie. And then if I wanted to come up here and use that Feral to put aspect of the cat onto an item, I could take an item that I wanted to craft onto. Like, this ring doesn't have any empty sockets to do that, but if I had like an empty socket item, I could throw that in here and then click craft and fight, and that would craft that suffix or prefix, I can't remember, that would craft aspect of the cat on there anyway. There's a lot of just random crap in here too. You can create like a random unique item. Okay, sure, let's see what this is. Probably something that doesn't even get through the loot filter. That's a good guess. Yep, I have no idea what it is. Oh, here we go. Eclipse Solaris, worthless. Great. So for the most part, the stuff that you make with Bestiary is just kind of random crap, but that's okay because the stuff that's valuable is very specific and it is in really high demand early on in a league. In terms of the cost of running this strategy, there's the obvious one of needing a map. You can be anywhere from tier 1 to tier 4 is fine, but you do want to be in that range specifically. And then depending on whether you have Einhar Beast missions available, that might be it. All you need is the map and an Einhar Beast mission, good to go. Now you can use scarabs, and this is good because it means that if you run out of missions, unlike with some other masters, you're not reliant on a sextant to apply that master to a map. You're not reliant on just like hoping you can regenerate more missions. You can grab some scarabs and throw them in, and they can be valuable. They do add red beasts, which is good too. They're not super expensive at League Start, especially like the rusted ones. Those are relatively cheap and you don't need them, but like they're helpful if you run out of master missions. And I think just a quality of life thing is that if you're using scarabs, you don't have to remember to click the button to add the master to the map. And you do have to do that every single time if you're not using scarabs. And I tend to forget. So it's good to have scarabs. Rusted will guarantee that he's there and he adds 1 extra red beast, Polished adds 2 extra red beasts, and Gilded adds 3. What's the best option? I would say it's totally dependent on your budget. You know, if you're just totally broke as a joke, no money at all, then go with just master missions. But if you have a little bit, Rusted's good. Once you're able to afford Polished, I would upgrade to those because more red beasts means more chances at Venomable, Plagued Arachnids, and Crikit Chimeras, and that's why you're there. Now, in terms of sextants, I think I might actually have some of these lying around. Hey, I do. Okay, so there are 2 types of sextants. One that just adds Einhar to your maps. That one's totally worthless. I mean, you can technically use it, but you're better off using even just like a rusted scarab because it doesn't add any additional red beasts. It literally just adds Einhar to the map, and there are so many other ways to get them on your map that that's pointless. The other sextant that's really valuable is this one right here. Create a copy of beasts captured in your maps. This will double all the beasts that you get, so it's obviously really good. If you get a Crikit Chimera, if you get a Venomable Plagued Arachnid, instead of getting 1, you now get 2. Pretty good. Now, sextants aren't required to get this strategy started, but you should use them as soon as you're able to afford to because they're basically going to double all of your profits. In terms of the profitability of this strategy, it doesn't really create a lot of bubblegum currency. That's not really the point here. The point here is that you're creating the Crikits and the Venomable Plagued Arachnids, and that's really, it really is that simple. Red beasts do get a big quantity modifier, so they will get thrown into like high level magic finding strategies. They really can drop a lot of stuff in high level juicing maps, but we're not doing that here. We're doing tier 1 to tier 4 maps with like no quantity modifiers on the map at all. So this isn't a huge currency generator on its own, and that's fine. Doing all that stuff to make them generate a bunch of currency also makes them really tanky and really deadly, and we don't want to deal with any of that. In terms of selling the stuff that the strategy makes, I think I kind of already walked through that with how to use a Bestiary orb and all. That is really the biggest problem with Bestiary as a league mechanic to me. It's just the like little bit of friction of putting the guys into a Pokeball basically and then throwing them into your stash is a little bit annoying, but it's really not that different from just pricing out like essences in an essence tab or something. I think one of the main things that I want to emphasize here is that when you are farming up these beasts, you want to generate a good supply of them and then set aside some like dedicated buying and selling periods rather than mapping and getting like one beast and putting it in your stash and then trying to sell it and being pulled out of a map that you're currently in. I know I already said this in the Essence video, but I think it's good to reiterate that thinking about selling as a gameplay mode itself is a good approach to learn and get comfortable with. Some people will also buy full stashes of 60 yellow beasts. That is an option to sell as well. It's obviously pretty tedious. You do have to sit there and click through 60 yellow beasts and 60 Einhar Bestiary orbs. And, you know, like, I'll just show off doing that. It's as tedious as it sounds like. And yeah, here we go. A yellow beast, Grim Jowls the Drooling. Grim Jowls the Drooling. Wow, reading comprehension's low today. Shadowflay, just random guys, right? So these aren't any type of special dude. You would just be selling these, a full stack of these to somebody for basically so that they can do bestiary crafting stuff and not have to go farm up yellow beasts themselves. I mean, you can do that. It's absolutely an option, especially if your bestiary is getting kind of full. I don't remember the number off the top of the dome, but I think I wrote it down. I think it's 500 beasts is the cap on the number of beasts you can have in your bestiary, your menagerie at a time. And so pulling out 60 of those and selling them all to somebody at once is a pretty good way to remove a lot of yellow beasts from your inventory. That'll work. If you hit the cap on beasts in the menagerie, the game will automatically release old beasts, and you really don't want that to happen. So it is possible to just release beasts. Historically, this meant you had to actually add them into a Pokeball and then destroy the Pokeball or throw it down and leave or whatever. That is not a requirement anymore. Instead, you can do this. You can just come to the menagerie, open up that captured beast tab, and then click the X in the top left corner here to release. And then you can click OK and it'll be removed. Now you can actually use a keyboard shortcut, just hit enter, and that'll make that process a little faster. So that is a quick way to just clear out a bunch of worthless beasts that you don't want to sell if you don't want to go through the hassle of orbing up 60 beasts and selling them off to somebody. You can do that too. Okay, another thing to watch out for, and I'm going to jump into a map here and just kind of show this off as I'm going. Also, just a note here, I didn't actually get any negative feedback on this yet, but I gave it to myself that I was playing my like super in-game build and a low level essence strategy in the last video. So I went down to a 1 link on my Toxic Ray and I took out a couple of auras. Let's take out the Silver Flask as well. So I did all of this and I like POB'd it out and I was well under 1 million DPS and like pretty inefficient, still very tanky. I don't want to die in the demonstration video or anything, but my damage is not good. And that's fine, right? Like, you don't need good damage to do this strategy. Did I add a... I didn't add a Einhar Scarab. All right, let's try that again. Okay, we're trying that again. That's fine. Einhar Scarab is in, so we'll actually have Einhar in this map, and that's the point here. So, a thing to watch out for is that Einhar can be slow to capture the beasts. This means they might take a while to drop their loot, and since they do have relatively high quant mods on them, they can sometimes drop valuable stuff. Oh, that's interesting. By dropping haste, I no longer have phasing. How annoying. That's okay. But this is pretty much the strategy, right? Like, okay, that guy dropped a bit of currency. This isn't like worth much, but at the start of a league, that wouldn't be too bad. But as you can see, there's a little bit of a delay in Einhar capturing the beast. I mean, you can see it's still active, right? He's talking, he's saying, we're gonna eat you up, and that's great. So obviously you will kind of want to like make your way back around to take a look at that in a little bit. Usually you don't get much out of the beasts, usually, but I've gotten some random divines or even just like random. I think in doing the prep for this, I killed one beast and I got like 200 fusing orbs. And I mean, at league start, 200 free fusing orbs is gonna really help get you set up right. So There's certainly nothing wrong about having that happen. I picked up a mana flask. That's fantastic. Right, so this is the gameplay loop, okay? You're just running through, looking for red beasts, killing the red beasts. That's pretty much it. I have combined this a little bit with essences as well from the previous strategy, and this is definitely something that you can do together. Essence and beast are on the same side of the Atlas tree, so they go pretty nicely together with each other. I haven't shown off the Atlas tree yet, so I'll just do that here. As you can see, there are a lot of good beast nodes along the way. Getting things like the chance to create copies of beasts is useful, especially if you don't have the sextant in place yet. Big game giving you the chance to have all your yellow beasts replaced with red beasts is really good. You might get if that procs, you have a much higher chance of getting a Venomable Plagued Arachnid or a Crykic Chimeral, which is good. I like Mighty Hunter just because, I don't know, it's a couple of points, and I like having Einhar around. He'll definitely help when your damage is really bad. Not a super valuable point, though. Definitely not necessary at all. Because we are hunting Crykic Chimerals and Venomable Plague Arachnid, we want to take Venomous, not Feral. I don't know why I took that. There we go. We want to hunt for Krycian and Venomous. Those are the two of these two notables that we want to take. We specifically don't want to be getting Ferric anything or Seikawine anything. And then taking natural selection increases our chances of getting the uncommon varieties of beasts like Crykic Chimeral and Venomable Plagued Arachnid. Also, Great Migration. This occasionally procs. It's not a super high chance. What is it, 8%? Yeah, but the chance to get additional packs of beasts instead of other monsters, sometimes you will just get tons and tons and tons of red beasts in a map, and that can be pretty great. Now, beasts have unique models. You'll be able to identify Plagued Arachnids and Crykic Chimerals visually once you've done this for a while and gotten comfortable with it. I'm kind of still not there yet, so I'm saying this as much for myself as for you. But specifically hunting down those little dudes and ignoring the rest of the red beasts can become an important part of this strategy if you're absolutely trying to min-max your profits. And I mean, that is kind of the point of any sort of currency farming strategy eventually, right? And a lot of this does have to do with the fact that the Menagerie has the beast cap on it. So, anytime that you spend at that beast cap in there freeing beasts, releasing beasts, or running low value beasts is time that you're not out here farming Venomable Plagued Arachnids and Crykic Chimerals. And obviously you want to do as much of that as you possibly can. Okay, I want to talk about a couple of other somewhat useful beasts that aren't, as good. They're not things you would want to sell. Obviously, the main purpose of the strategy is to farm and sell Crykic Chimerals and Venomable Plagued Arachnids, but there are at least two that I think are useful early on in a league, and there are things that you would want to actually just run yourself. One of those is Seikawine Vulture, this bad boy here. You can use those to make fully linked 6-socket rares, and I'm going to fight one of them right now. I'm doing it on a 1 link. Oh, this is a mistake. All right. Okay, there we go. Now it's finally coming along. I think this guy's item level 83. So yeah, anyways, you kill this guy, he will give you a random 6-link. It wasn't a good one. Obviously, the chances of it being good are not great. You have no control over what it's going to be, but the chance of it possibly being good, especially early on in a league, very beginning of league start. There we go. That's nice. That's better. The chance of getting a good 6-link at the league start, this 6-link quilted jacket, this could actually be useful. I could sell that to somebody for a little bit of chaos. Definitely worth having spent the couple of seconds, a little bit of time there killing that dude to get that. Another one that you can pick up that is pretty decent is the Ferric Pit Hound. This is also available from tier 1 maps. Level 21 corrupted gem. You got this guy coming in here, you kill him, maybe you get a useful level 21 gem. It's possible. Chances aren't super high, but okay, meat shield support. Not that great, but if you got a level 21 Malevolence or a level 21 Haste or some sort of aura at level 21 that doesn't really have a great quality, at least at the time that I'm saying this, that could actually be pretty useful. Something you could either use and be a nice boost to your build, or something you could sell off, or at the kind of worst case, something you could hang on to like turn into a lapidary lens or whatever it's called. What is it called from the Labyrinth? I have one of those hanging out. A faceter's lens from the Labyrinth that you could at least suck up some of the XP and then throw that into a more useful gem. The difference with these two beasts here is that they're not really worth selling to other players. You're better off just killing them in the menagerie like I have done here and hoping you get a good item out of it so that you can sell or use it. And that the same kind of goes with all of the create a unique item, sword, shield, boots, whatever. They're arguably not worth killing. You probably will get garbage, but you can still do it, especially at the beginning of the league. It's an okay way to get some uniques to use for like leveling another character if you want, and then not having to trade with other players. Definitely not better currency per hour than farming more Crikett Chimeras and Finable Plagued Arachnids, but something to do, right? Okay, there's one thing I wanted to include here that I think is really, really important, and that is sort of the one big ripple of complexity that Bestiary has going for it, and that is playing in a group. The party leader in groups that have an Einhar in their map will always get a beast when Einhar captures one, as long as they are in the map when the beast is being captured. Party members have a chance to capture a beast when Einhar captures one, but they have to be within range of Einhar, basically within like a screen or two of the beast that's being captured. That's not the case for the party leader. They could be like just AFK at the start of the map and then everybody else is clearing out and they'll still get those beasts. This makes Bestiary a really valuable league to farm within a group, which really isn't exactly how a lot of other early league mechanics like Essence work, for example. And it kind of feels a little bad to do as like a total solo player. You know that you're leaving currency on the table, and that never feels great even if you are still making a ton of currency per hour out of this strategy. On top of that, most of the beasts that you capture other than Finable Plagued Arachnid and Crikett Chimera are basically just random crap. They're not all 100% worthless, but they usually are pretty low value. And those are kind of the things that have always kept me away from doing Bestiary in the past, but I know it's a profitable strategy even solo, and so I do think it's something I'm going to play around with since it synergizes so effortlessly with Essence. You know, you want to use Essence on the map device and then Bestiary on the master missions, and they're both low level, low quantity strategies that are really easy to get going, so they really do synergize nicely with each other in a way that they don't really synergize as well with a lot of other strategies. Okay, let's close on whether you need any fancy stash tabs for this. No, Bestiary's whole infrastructure is contained with Einhar's menus, and there are no stash tabs for that at all. You probably want at least one premium stash tab so that selling items is easy, but that is all. Alright, I think that pretty much covers it. Bestiary is a very good early farming strategy, and it stays pretty good long term as long as you're willing to keep up with the inventory management. So I am thinking about doing it in Necropolis. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Have fun hanging out with Einhar. Bye.